Alright, let's talk about Lupin the Third, The Mystery of Mamo. So, this is, it's the first movie based on the popular Lupin the Third anime. Um, it's kind of an anime that I've only known about in passing, because I never watched it when it, or yeah, I never watched it basically, but I do, I caught glimpses of it when it like aired on Cartoon Network. I think it was like during Adult Swim. Yeah, obviously it must have been Adult Swim. It might be a bit too adult for Toonami, but yeah, you know, usually I remember it usually aired like early in the morning, so when I turned on the TV while getting ready for school, I caught the end of an episode just before my early Cartoon Network shows came on. Blah blah blah. I don't remember everything about back then, but still. Um, but yeah, this is the first full length movie based on the anime, and yeah, I guess I think the anime was dubbed in the early 2000s, but yeah, the original show was from the 70s and stuff. Um, so yeah. Anyway, the story is Lupin discovers the Philosopher's Stone, and this villain named Mamo wants it, he sends in Lupin's love interest, who I guess is kind of the. Okay, so obviously I don't know like I just said, I've never actually watched the show, so yeah, and this movie doesn't exactly like introduce you to the characters that well. It's kind of like assuming for the most part that you know them already, but so yeah, it that being said, it wasn't too confusing. I got the general gist of what everyone's character is, their purpose in the story, etc. So yeah, we got Lupin the Third, who I guess is a master thief or something, and he's being hunted by this by Inspector Zenigata. Um, and yeah, sorry if I'm butchering these Japanese names for this anime I never watched. Um, and yeah, Zenigata is like super obsessed with catching Lupin. Um, yeah, he's basically the Javert to Lupin's Jean Valjean. Um, so anyway, yeah, Mamo sends his love interest Fujiko to kind of you know kind of get him to give it to her so she can give it to Mamo, and yeah, he gives her a fake one, and the rest of the movie is this big plot to facing off with Mamo's forces, and but yeah, that's the general idea. But there's a lot of weird stuff along the way. One thing that Mamo does is he brings back some famous dead people like Napoleon and Adolf Hitler. Like, yeah, they just show up right before we meet Mamo for the first time, and we see what he looks like and stuff. And it is kind of interesting that he has like this deep, menacing voice, and yet physically he doesn't look anything like you would assume such a voice to come out of. He looks like, he looks like a character that would have like Emperor Pilaf's voice from Dragon Ball. It's kind of interesting how the voice is like, or yeah, physical appearance and the voice are just so different, you know. But yeah, he's got an interesting design. And what other weird moments? Well, there's a lot of them. Some pretty trippy moments. But you know, you follow along thanks to the interesting characters. You know, you got Lupin the Third, who, you know, he's like a master thief, but he's like, or at least I'm guessing he's supposed to be a thief. Whatever. But yeah, they play him up as, or yeah, it says he's a son of a, or grandson of a gentleman thief. Anyway, you know, his character, he's kind of an immature, childish idiot in a way, but, you know, he can also be really intelligent at points. You know, whenever he's encountered by Fujiko, he turns into a sex-crazed lunatic, and, yeah. And Fujiko, she's basically the fan service. She's the eye candy, because, like, yeah, like, every other scene with her, she's, like, either naked or... And, yeah, this movie doesn't censor, yeah, it doesn't censor very much of her. Yeah, you do see some breasts and buttocks, TNA. Yeah, you also briefly see Lupin's butt in one scene. And, let's see. But yeah, I guess aside from that, she's kind of like the on and off girlfriend of his. I guess she's kind of like the anti-hero, or yeah, kind of the anti-hero love interest type. Kind of like, I guess, Irene Adler from Sherlock Holmes. Or at least, or I don't know much about Sherlock Holmes either, but I know Irene Adler and the Robert Downey Jr. movies anyway. But yeah, you know, she's that kind of character, you know, the kind of love interest that you can't always trust because she's often working with the villain, but, you know, by the end she always, you know, runs back to the hero's arms, blah, blah, blah. Let's see, Mamo was pretty entertaining. I mean, his plot was a little confusing, but, you know, I went along with it because, you know, he is a very entertaining villain. So, yeah, and, let's see, what's his name? Daisuke Jigen? Sorry, I didn't watch enough of the movie to, get his name down, but, yeah, he's the dude with the hat over his eyes. Yeah, he's an interesting character. I mean, he, you know, he's, like, quite serious much of the time, but he can also be kind of childish sometimes, just like, Lupin. I guess he's kind of an alcoholic as well. Yeah, again, I'd have to watch the anime or, you know, read the manga or whatever to really know these characters. Gomon, am I pronouncing that right? Yeah, samurai. He's like the overly serious one. I guess he's the most level-headed and mature of the gang. And I already talked about Zenigata. So, yeah, yeah, those are the main characters. And, you know, they're entertaining, and, I guess aside from that, this movie has some good animation, it's got some fun action scenes, if a little weird at times, a little over the top. And yeah, it's, I mean, I guess I would have more to say about it if I was more of a, Lupin the Third fan, but I don't know. I guess this wasn't a bad introduction to the franchise. It just didn't explain everything about these characters, so I kind of went in a little blind. But yeah, trying to think if there's much else to say. I mean, there's an interesting plot from the villain. Aside from that, I guess how I can pretty much describe the movie is super anime. Like, I guess it's a bit more down to earth than the Dragon Ball series, but it's still really weird a lot of the time, and yeah, I'm sure any fan of Lupin the Third will, are well aware of how crazy this series is. But yeah, I can't really think of much else to say at the moment. Like I said, I don't know a whole lot. But yeah, I do know that the next Lupin the Third movie, that's just 1 year away from this, is the directorial debut of Hayao Miyazaki. So yeah, I guess I look forward to that. But yeah, until then, as usual, if there's anything else I feel I need to add, I'll put it in the comments. Maybe there's something important that I felt obliged to talk about that I'm forgetting, but yeah, for now, I'll go ahead and give this movie, I think it's somewhere between a 7 and an 8. It was, it was entertaining, but maybe it could have explained things a little more, and yeah, and we'll see if the next one steps it up enough, since that one seems to be pretty popular, Miyazaki or no Miyazaki. But yeah, so yeah, somewhere between a 7 and an 8. And yeah, if you're a fan of Lupin the Third, I would definitely recommend this movie. I'm sure you'll get a kick out of it. And if you don't know much about Lupin the Third, if you're, uninitiated like I am, then, well, just take everything I said into consideration. It's not gonna quite, introduce you to the characters, but, you might still enjoy it, like I did. Okay, there's one more thing I should mention, because there was one rather confusing plot line, and it's how by the end of the movie, Mamo's bringing up this thing about some clone of Lupin who died, he says last spring, and I didn't know what that meant at first. I didn't know what the point of it was. I guessed that it must have been from the anime series. Maybe I would understand it if I watched the anime. But yeah, I did look it up, and I saw that it's based around the beginning of the movie, because the first scene is Lupin the Lupin clone apparently getting hanged, and but yeah, he's in shadow, so you can't quite, it's kind of hard to follow that you can't even follow what the hell is going on if you don't know the anime, I guess. Or at least I'm guessing you're supposed to watch the anime to understand it. So yeah, that's a fine example of something that I just didn't understand as somebody who never watched the anime. But yeah, aside from that, I can't think of anything else to bring up at the moment. I'm sure I'd have more to say if I've watched the anime, blah blah blah. But yeah, as usual, if I have anything else I feel I need to add, I'll put it in the comments, and I guess I'll leave it at that for now. Mash it and smash it, signing off.